So for database connectivity, basically what you are taking is we are actually we are actually free to take any of the database of your choice. Okay, so that can be this MS SQL Server, or that can be Access, or that can be MySQL, DB2, Oracle. You are free to take any database that you want to have for your application. Okay. So today let us understand how to get connect with this MS SQL Server. This is the SQL Server in which we have some databases. Here you can see these are the databases, and I would just enable the coding for that, and we will see how to create a database connection from a new page. Okay, so let us first take a new blank page, which is with the name some DB. So db.aspx is the name of the web form that I want to create. So on the right side, you can see that is actually created. So this is the db.aspx, and at the design time, you cannot see anything because now it is entirely empty. All the users database from database. So anything that you would like to show for your end users. Okay. So after this, we will be having our data that is visible from the ADO.NET connectivity by using the ASP.NET. So this is what our practical is going to have today. Okay. So how to start with the coding? So you know that go to the code behind file db.aspx.cs. When you double click this, you by default get this page underscore load. So this is the method that is by default, which is loaded into the code behind file. Okay, so in which what I'm going to do is I will write the ADO.NET connectivity code. For that, before using that, we have to import some couple of namespaces. First one is system dot data. So this is required for dataset object. So that's why we have taken this system dot data. And one more namespace is system dot data dot. You can see multiple namespaces are there. SQL client. This is generally what we use for getting the Microsoft database servers getting connected. And if you are using the other databases, you have to take this ODPC. That means if you are taking Oracle or MySQL, then this should be the ODBC should be the namespace. Otherwise, if you want to embed the database, that means Microsoft Access. So OLEDB is the namespace for that. Okay, so in that way, you have to take different namespaces depending on your actual database that you want to implement for your website. But as in our case, I'm just taking the database from Microsoft SQL Server. So what I will take is SQL client. So this you can see SQL client. So that is mandatory to get included. Then only you will get the SQL connection, SQL command, SQL data reader. So all these objects are available in this SQL client namespace. Okay. So then what we do is, first of all, we have to take the connection string. Okay. So first of all, take the connection string, like that is a con object. In this, I have to make the connection string. Otherwise, I am expanding this like connection string, so that to understand by everybody. So connection string is equal to. So provide the connection string for this SQL server. So you can have a doubt from where can I get all these connection strings. Once in a specific connectionstrings.com website is there. Okay, it is not required for everybody, but you can see all the databases, whether it can be Access, DSN, Excel, Lightbase, then MySQL, then IBM DB2. So all these databases, suppose you want to get connected to the IBM DB2. So simply click on that and it will provide the connection string. Okay, so simply you have to copy, and wherever the username and password, those things you have to change. So those simple changes that you need to perform. So like with the case of Excel. So if you are clicking Excel, it will be creating with one different connection string. So simply this you have to copy. Okay. But I will show by directly typing into this because we are using the MySQL, MS SQL, Microsoft SQL Server. So for that, we have to provide the database server name. So with this keyword data source, what is the data source? Go back to this server, and when you click connect, it will open up this interface and simply copy, because it depends on from machine to machine. In your machines, if SQL Server is installed, then this can be something different. Okay, so simply copy this, copy, and sometimes you may be having some username password also. Then again, you have to enter those information also. Okay. So, but right now in my case, there is no username password. Simply, I am connected from a local instance of this database. So I am copying this, and the data source is this. Then put a semicolon. Then comes with the initial database. What is the initial database? Suppose I have these many databases, and I want to connect to this database named Rapid Access. So some database is there. So I will take a keyword initial catalog. So catalog means the database. Okay. So initial catalog is whatever is the database that you want to connect from your application. So this is the name, and I am pasting that. Okay. Then third one is, like I said, if you have the username and password authentication mechanism, then comes with the user ID is equal to something something, then password is equal to something something. Okay. So this is required. But in my case, there is no user ID password. Simply it is Windows authenticated by default. So for that, we have a keyword called as integrated security. That means the security is inbuilt from this machine. Okay. So integrated security, which you have to set as true, which you have to set as true. Okay. So terminate this line. So there are separators that you can see. This is first key value page, this is second key value pair, and this is third key value pair. In the first one, we have given with the database instance connection instance name. Second one is database name, and third one is whether it is Windows authenticated or it is user ID password given by the user. Okay. So the mode is defined by your way of connecting. Simply, I am connecting with my, so see, you can see here, I am connecting with the Windows authentication. Okay. Then after this connection string, we need to instantiate the connection object. So for that, I will take SQL. You can see while I type the SQL, because all these are coming from SQL clients, while I type this, you can see IntelliSense is showing all these SQL related objects. Okay. So you can clearly see all these SQL based objects in which I will take connection. Where is that? This one is the connection. Okay. So no need to take in that way. You can directly type SQL connection, and the SQL connection is an object. So that's why I will take this as connection object. And this is a new SQL connection because this I am instantiating this class. I am instantiating, and in which you can see some multiple overloading methods are supported. First one is blank. Second one is connection string. Okay. Second one is connection string, and third one is connection string, comma, some credentials. So let us take with this connection string, which we have already taken. So I am pasting that connection string name here. So in that way, my connection object is created. Okay. So this way I am instantiating connection string. I am providing into this class constructor, and this is the connection object. Then after this connection object, we have to take some query, isn't it? So select star from, I want to take the data from students. Okay. So let us take with this table. So I will write here students, select star from students. Okay. So this is my SQL query. So this is my query. So in that way, you can take any query, But for select operations, I am writing for this select star from students. And then what is the next object that we require is we require command object. So SQL command, so you can see here that is IntelliSense is automatically taking up the object name. SQL command provide with the any variable name, new SQL command, then again one more overloaded method you can see, in which you can directly take the command text. That means you can directly copy this and paste into this, so that is also possible. And one more constructor is second one is string, connection, and transaction. So in that way, multiple overloaded methods are supported. Okay, so what I'm doing is, as I have already taken into this variable, this command into this variable, so right now what I will do is simply I am passing this command, okay, then connection. So both I am passing into this command object. So that means we are actually connecting all these things. First of all, you have to take a connection object, then you need to take a query, and again you are going to create a command object. This command object is actually is responsible for connecting the information of the query, as well as, let us keep this as query. Okay, so for simpler understanding, this is the query and this is the connection. Okay, so this query and connection we are attaching into this command object. Then what else? After this, everything is set now. We will open this database connection. Now what we try to do is we just simply open up this database connection, and after getting this connection open, what you want to do is I want to fetch the data. I want to fetch some student information, which you can see from this table. There are so many rows that are available. Okay, so some hundreds of rows are there. So all this information I want to show up on the web browser. So for that we need a adapter, data adapter. Okay, so let us create with that data adapter. So data adapter that can be with any variable instance, new SQL data adapter. And what it is expecting, you can see, one is select command, that means this CMD. One is command comma connection. There are multiple ways of doing the things in .NET coding. Okay, so as we have taken connection into this command, so there is no need to provide this connection again and again, because command object is now integrated with the connection object also. So that's why now I take with the CMD only. Okay, so SQL data adapter command, then data set DS. This is one object that we require to save the data which is coming from the database into this object. So dataset DS is equal to new dataset. Okay, so simply instantiate this, and then we require this data adapter to get filled with the dataset object is actually we need to fill up by taking this adapter. So for that there is a implementation that is called as adapter.fill, and pass on the object. You can see here dataset. Okay, so you can pass the data table also, you can pass the dataset comma the source to table. So in that way multiple overloaded methods are there, but right now I am simply want to save this entire information in this dataset. That means this data adapter is actually hooking onto the database by using this connection and fill up the information which is coming from the database into this data set. Getting? So this data adapter is actually using this information command. So the command is actually having the query as well as connection. Everything is available in this command. So that information we are going to take so that to fill up the data set with whatever the query that we have given. Okay. So then after this, what we are remaining is with to show up the information on the browser. So for that, we have to take some interface. So what is the interface? There is no interface as of now. So to show the data, you can select the data part of, this is the data part, you can see. So this is the data part of the toolbox. And in that toolbox, you can take data list, you can say, there are some different implementations for each of these control. How to show the, or how to present the user interface for your data. Right now I want to show the data in the grid format. So that's why I will take the grid view. Okay, so simply double click on this. So this is my grid view that I have created. And you can simply beautify this by selecting this auto format. Auto format is nothing but simply providing some styles, inbuilt styles that are instantly getting applied on this database. Okay, so these are the different styles that are available. Suppose I will take this. Okay, so I will take this, simply click on OK. Now the styling is applied to this. Okay, and you can provide some name to this grid view. So the grid view name can be, the identifier can be grid view students, something like that. Okay, so that is up to you whether to keep any identifier or not, or by go with the default grid view one. So that is up to you. So I have taken GV student, that means grid view, this is students, and now the control is ready to show up the information, but the control we have to bind with the data source. So this is the data source. So for that, what we have to do is, so call the control GV students. See here, the GV students is loaded into the IntelliSense. Then this grid view is having the data source of DS. DS means this data set, and in that data set, it is actually the full way of representing your entire database, but in which we are interested in only to show the data from this data table. Okay, so the data set can contain multiple data tables. That can be faculty, that can be exams, that can be all the tables you can save into this data set. But right now I am interested in showing of the first indexed table having the default view, and then call the data bind method. This is important. You have to bind the data to this control, and after everything is over, this connection we have to close. Okay, so simply close the call method, simply call the close method. Here we are opening this connection. SQL data adapter is there, and data set also we have created. Through that data adapter, we are filling up the data set with that required information. Then one control you have to take on the user interface. In this control, we are providing the data source for that control as data sets, okay, having the default view, whatever the view that is coming directly from this results, and then call this data bind, which is important. If you don't call this method, the information is available in the memory, but it will not be printed on the browser because you have not at all binded that information. Okay, so GV students.data bind, final everything is done. Call this connection.close. That's all. Okay, so let us see by running this page. I have clicked on this run. It is loading in the browser, and after some, yes, all the data is visible. You can see the entire students information is, you can see the n number of rows is actually, suppose there are some 111 rows are there, everything is printed. Now suppose you want to, you don't want to call those many records, you want to simply call some top 25 students. Okay, so you can create the query like this, top 25 students only. Let us go with this. Then you can accordingly modify the queries, SQL queries, so that accordingly the data fetching is done. So you can see there are only 25 records in that fetched data set. Okay, so in that way you can keep on, otherwise you can take 10 and simply refresh. Yes, only 10 results are there. Okay, I have refreshed and this is the end. So in that way, we can have the disconnected architecture. So this is what we have, disconnected architecture in the web browser. How this is disconnected? Because we have taken the command and accordingly saved the data into the data set. So that's why it became the disconnected way of getting the things. Then afterwards, whether you want to print the information or you want to update some information, finally, till again you are not updating the content into the database, this in-memory representation will be persisting at the client side. That means it is available in the memory actually. So thereby no further database calls are not required. Okay. So what we have done, we have initially taken the connection string, then we have taken the connection object, then we have taken the query and attached all this information into the command, SQL command. Then connection we have opened, the data adapter we require because we need to get hold of the data so that to pump into the dataset object. Then we have filled up the data adapter, filled up the data set using the data adapter. After this data set is getting the data, you need to set with the data source, then call this data bind. And finally, everything is done. Call this connection.close method. And as I said, suppose if you are implementing the Oracle database, then in that case, only this part is going to be changed. Everything is same. That means here you are going to take ODBC. It will not come here because I have not taken the using system.data.odbc. You have to take first of all. Then after that, ODBC. You can see ODBC connection. You have to replace here. And similarly here, SQL data adapter. That means OLEDB data adapter, ODBC data adapter. Then SQL command. That means ODBC. Here you can see command. So in that way, you have to replace these objects. Otherwise, the methodology is same. Okay. Only in the place of SQL, you have to write ODBC. SQL connection, that means ODBC connection. SQL command, that means ODBC command. SQL adapter, that means ODBC data adapter. So in that way, the objects are getting changed according to the chosen namespace. But I have not taken Oracle, so that's why SQL Server is SQL client. That you have to, first of all, you have to write this using the namespace. Then take this example. So with few lines of coding, we are actually completing the database connection exclusively, and only the queries you have to change accordingly so that to get the work done. So only for the select command, we require this SQL data adapter and data set. For all the update, delete commands, we do not require this SQL data adapter and data set. Okay, so simply fire this command and command.execute. So that will be solving the purpose of updating the information. But only for the select query, you require this data adapter and the data set because we want to store the data somewhere in some object. So that's why we require this data set object. Otherwise, for normal updating operations or some delete operations, insert operations, we do not require this adapter as well as data set. That means this much of code is further reduced if you are not implementing the select. Okay, so we will see the second example. I will actually, what I can do is, as this is working under the page load, I will simply convert that into one method. I'm simply converting that into one method called as disconnected mode. So okay, So this is what we are putting that disconnected mode. Okay, this disconnected mode is having nothing but the same code. And why I am doing like this is it can be easy for calling the methods from the page load, because we are going to have a second method which is completely the connection oriented mode. So let us see with that example. Okay, so copy this, the entire example, paste, and connected mode. So same, we require the database connection string that is required. We require this connection object also, and we require this command object also. Okay, up till this point everything is same. Up till this point everything is same, and now I'm going to delete this. Okay, I'm going to delete this up till this point. So finally we need to close this also. But right now I want to get hook of the database till all my data is getting processed by the statements. Okay, so for that what I will take is, for that I will take a one new object that is called as SQL data reader. So this is the object that will be offering us with the connected way of reading the data directly from the database. Okay, so I will take this object as reader, and reader is equal to, now what this reader is having is cmd, that means command dot execute reader, execute reader. Okay, so that means this command is having the query as well as connection, and I will simply remove this top star. Okay, this command is having the query as well as connection. Then I am taking one new object reader, and this reader is actually getting hold of the data by using this command, SQL command. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to repeat the information with all the rows of data, whichever is coming dynamically, by checking with the condition while the reader is not null. Okay, so that means until this reader is not having any data, this particular code block will be running again and again. So the reader should not be empty. That means the reader should be having in the read mode condition. Okay, so in this do while, what I will do is I will write directly. I am not taking any control also. So for this disconnected for this connected way of doing the things, we do not require this grid also. Okay, and here I am writing response.write reader. In this, the first table, that means the 0x, okay, this is the C#, na? So 0 index, then string, then to separate the content, I am putting some BR only to differentiate the content. Then response.write is response.write reader. Okay, this string is a method. ToString. Okay, ToString is a method. Yes, now it is fine. So reader, the 0th index data record, then ToString, and then I want to take the second information coming from same thing actually. Okay, I will copy this, but only the index is 1, and here I am going to put like NBST, null spaces, couple of null spaces I am going to provide, and then third one. So this is the third one. Okay, so in that way I'm going to create some data, and finally, as this reader is created, we have to close the reader, and finally you have to close with this connection object also. Okay, so the reader should be closed as well as the connection object also getting closed after everything is done. Okay, so let us find with this what is 0 1 2. 0 1 2, I take 2 4 6. Let us take this as 2 4 6. Okay, so that means I want to print only this one and this one and this one. Okay, so let us run this. So it is actually reading the content, but nothing is printed on this. Why is it so? Response connection is there, connection is open, then connection students, everything is proper. Okay, first of all, we will see whether any data is coming into this or not by putting a debugger here. Okay, so suppose if I click this, it is actually, oh my god, I have not called this method actually in the load. Okay, so we need to call this method, then only it will run. So that's why it is not working. We have not implemented that. There is no need to have this debugger also. I'm simply removing this. Okay, now I want to get hold of the data. We have not called this method. So that's why nothing is running that. So let us click on this again and see what is happening with the output. Yes, all the information is printed line by line. You can see. So all the 111 students information is actually parallelly printed before the header also, because we have used response.write. Okay, suppose you want to write this information into a container, then accordingly you have to place the container and call the container here so that it will print into that container as inner HTML. So there are n number of ways for doing the things. So here what we are fetching is second, fourth, sixth columns data. That means the email ID it is printing actually, email ID, then first name, last name. Okay, so in that way, actually we have given the BR now. So I will remove this BR, and then you can suppose I will change in this way so that you will clearly come to know what is happening with this code. Okay, this is NBSP. Where is that? Let us run again. Now you can clearly see what is happening with that code. Yes. Okay. One single record says this is the entire data for that particular student. So in that way we got the data. The NBSP, okay, NBSP. Now it is fine. Okay. So first name, last name, email address. First name, last name, email address. So for all the records, we are getting the data in that way. So got it? Is the connected way of doing the thing. That means till all the records are not fetched from the database, the connection is being maintained. Okay, so the connection is still there. That means it may take some milliseconds of time, but from starting to the ending row, the connection is kept open. So that is how we actually read the content by using the SQL data readers. So which is something different from this data sets. Okay, so this is used for disconnected architectures and this is used for connected architectures. The coding is pretty much same. Only difference is you are using the data readers and some while loops so that to get all the data in this, and whereas you are going to use the data sets and the data adapters in the disconnected architectures. Only that is the difference. But in both ways, we can get the data from the database. these two are important because when you do the projects, these two, sometimes you may end up with some couple of rows to read. So at that time, you will not take the data set because for petty results, simply you can read the information by using the SQL data readers and simply process the information whichever is coming from the database in this way. So next one is how to use this master pages for your advantage. Okay. So first of all, I will show with some demonstration. So first of all, I am going to create a new master page by selecting from add new item. In that add new item, right now you don't have to take this web form. Okay. So scroll down until you are not getting this master page. Okay. So that can be with any name. You can change the name of this master page to something else also. Okay. So this master page dot master is my file that I want to create, and I am clicking on this add. And on the interface, you can see some default coding is actually is being loaded with HTML, the head, the body, the form identifier is there, and some content placeholder is also there. So what is the use of this content placeholders? I will explain later. But first of all, design with some user interface. Okay. So the interface I will create should be appeared. That means I have to code in the body. Okay. So in the body, what I will do is I will take a div. Right now I will implement my inline styling. Weight is equal to some 90%. Okay. So background color, this you can yellow, and border maybe some dashed, no, solid, then 5 6 solid, gray. Okay. So this division I have created, and this division should be having some headers, your organization name, otherwise Sri the College of Engineering and Management. Then in the second part, you can create with some address like Vitti Hagan, Katol Road, then Nagpur, something. Okay. So this is what I want to create as part of my interface, and the height can be given also. Height can be some 200 pixels. Okay. Then you can see the interface also. Accordingly, this is getting created visually. Okay. I think 100 is not required. Let us take 80. 80, yes, that is fine. Then after this, you will be having some text which is coming here. Then after this, you will be having some footer also. Again, this can be a division that you can copy and paste here. This is some 30 pix height in gray color. Then it is having copyright by RCOEM some 2021, something like that. Okay. Otherwise, contact us. This can be a link. So anything that you want to create with that interface that you can have. So yes, background color is not actually applied here. Background color, I don't know why. Some Bollywood. Okay. So yes, this it got applied. Okay. So not only that, you can take your own interfaces like creating with that what is called as navigational links. Navigational links like this is a menu, and this menu is created with some edit menu items. How to do that? Home. Okay. You have to provide the navigational URL that is actually default. You have to select in this way. Okay. So default is the index page. Then after that, add one more that can be departments. Okay. So the departments page can be having with some information like coming from this, maybe some this. Okay. Then after that registration, you can create the structure in that way. So the registration page is going to the registration validation. So in that way you can create, and you can set the properties also. The properties, I want to the orientation, that means it is in the vertical way. Right now I want to show that in the horizontal way. You can provide the separators also. Okay, you can provide some margins also. So everything can be configured by settings, by putting these properties. Okay, so everything can be configurable. But I am not going into that. Now let us take with the uh, we'll take with a new page. Okay, so I want to add a new page, add new item. So this can be contact us page. So it is not a master page, it is a contact us page. Okay, so this contact us page, now what you have to do, you have to select this master page option. Okay, so click on this, check this one, click on add. Now it will ask if you have one or more master pages available in your solution, then all will be listed here. But as of now, we are having only single master page. So select this one and click on OK. Then what happens? You can see the content placeholders are there. Nothing is there in the way like we have this HTML pages, HTML body and other things. Like we have that in the other pages. Okay, so whenever you are going to create, all these will be automatically coming. So we have not written this HTML head, body and other things. Now all these things have gone into this master page, and normal pages are only having the content placeholders. What is the advantage? Advantage is very simple. So this is my current page, but the uniformity is maintained by having the common functionalities are given in a single file, that is called as master page file. So that means your web application is having 100 pages. Suppose after some 6 months of production or development of your application, you want to change by adding something like this 440013. Okay, so this will be applicable to all the 500 pages, even though we are doing a small change, and that change will be given in a single file. It will be incorporated to all the 500 pages which are accessing which are having the master page for them. Okay, so there is no need to modify by going to each and every page, by opening this page, by doing the correction there, and again going to this page and doing the correction there. So this will be simply limited, and your flexibility, manageability, and development time will also be reduced, and you are going to have a very neater way of implementing the web applications. So that is the advantage of having the master pages. Okay, so now I will run this contact us. You can see the contact us is having nothing actually. We have not suppose we'll write something into this h1 contact us, and here you are going to define your address, street number this, then locality is this. Okay, so all these you are going to implement, and then city, phone number, etc., etc. And what is the advantage? Uh, advantage, one error it was given. So I am cutting this form, and I am putting in the body. Okay. So now you can see the contact us page is actually getting the data from the contact us as well as from the master pages. So this is coming from the master page, and this is coming from the contact us page. Okay, so in that way we can have our implementation. So as it is somewhat cluttered, you can have some. Okay, now you can see some clarity is there. Okay, so this is the header file. which is coming from the master page, and this is the content file, which is from the contact us page. So in that way, the master pages are very, very useful. So whenever you are doing the web application, you have to change some minimal changes so that to incorporate those changes across all the web pages or of your web application. Maybe your web application may be containing some 500 pages, some thousands of pages also. Simply you have to change at a single page. So that is nothing but at the master page level. So we can create the user controls also. So what is the advantage of user control? First of all, let me create with this user control. So click add new item. In this add new item, select where is that user control, web user control. This one is the user control, web user control. You have to select. You can name this to anyone, like I want to put some advertisement into that. Okay, so advertisement.asch. So simply click on that. So it will take us to some interface. This interface is again like a blank page, which is having some directive only, page directive. So what is this page? This directive says this is a control, and it is having some code behind file like this. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some. Is there any image? Yes, there is an image. Okay. I am simply drag this image. You can see. Yes, this is some advertisement. You can think like that. This is some advertisement I am having in my web page, and that's all. This user control is ready, and you can do whatever the changes that you want to have. Suppose you can create with any additional content that you want to have, so that hello, no, this is not the place. Hello, something. So you can decorate your own interface accordingly, and accordingly it will be creating the content. But this is not a page. This is only a partial content to be embedded in any given page. So that is what we have by using the web user controls. So how to embed these controls in any given page? So let us take with our contact us page. Now I want to embed this user control before this or otherwise after this contact us. Okay. So here I want to put that user control information, whichever is that user control information I want to print at this place. So how to do that? First of all, you have to register that control. Okay. So go to the page directive section, and here you can see there is a register directive, and in that register directive there is a source. Okay. Source is equal to, see, automatically all the user controls whichever you have created, there can be n number of user controls, all will be listed, but right now we have only single user control. So the source will be this. Okay. Now you have to provide the tag name, and this can be my company name also, or additionally we can create the tag prefix also. Okay. So these two are required. So the tag prefix I will say like my ad, and the tag name is some company. So in that way you can create with any name. So it is not mandatory what value you are putting into these two attributes, tag prefix and tag name. Okay. So after registering that user control in this contact us page, you have to call that control. How to call that? By using the tag prefix and tag name. Okay. So what is the tag prefix? Tag prefix is my ad. You can see the intelligence is automatically saying that my ad some company, and you have to provide run at server. This is mandatory, and additionally an identifier, my ID, something like that. Okay. So that's all. Your user control is ready to get served. So in that way, we can register our user controls, and when you go to the this page, the user control information is simply printed on the page. So what is the advantage of this user controls is some repetitive functionalities wherever you are having in all the pages. So those functionalities can be simply converted into user controls and they can be called according to your convenience. Okay, so that means suppose I have the requirement of this add in the contact us, and accordingly I have this requirement in the DB page also. Okay, so same thing we have to do. For the time being, I'm copying this. Okay, I'm copying this and putting this in the this way. And tag prefix I would like to call here before this grid control. What is that? My add run at server and ID is something. Okay, that's all. Give a break. And when you load this uh, database page, there also the same functionality is getting replicated. Okay, this is coming from response.write. So that's why it is printing first, but your user control information is there. Okay, so in that way, across all the pages, you can have the same functionality served again and again. And if any change that you would like to have, that can be done at a single place. Suppose I don't want to have this hello to be called, Okay, so this is gone. So previously it was there, now it is gone. I have refreshed that, this is gone. Okay, otherwise you can put some header information. This is my ad. Okay, so when you save that, you can have the latest information that is reloaded again. So in that way, you can have a common functionality, whichever you want to reuse across all the pages, you can simply convert them into an user control. So that is all about the user controls.